This is episode 102 of Zen and the Art of Real Estate Investing with my guest, Amelia McGee. Amelia is a real estate investor out of the state of Iowa, focusing on midterm rentals, who has scaled up a very impressive portfolio of at least 36 units, because I know sometimes it changes already. She is also the co-founder of WIIRE, which stands for Women Invest in Real Estate, with Grace Gudenkauf, who was our guest on episode 68. You'll see them a lot together on social, but now we have just Amelia. Amelia, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here. I didn't realize Grace was almost, 48, 30 episodes ago?
Yeah,
That's crazy.
I know. I think right at the time we moved we started to do 2 a week. So now it's like really going quickly. So yeah, she's 68, you're 102. And like I was saying to you before, I'm really excited to put more of the spotlight, one, back on you, because we missed each other when we were at VPCon, but also more of a spotlight back on what you guys are doing at WIIRE, because I've just been so impressed with it. I love everything behind it. But I want to start with where you started, because I read that your first opportunity in real estate investing was a flip with your parents.
Yeah, it was. So let's start there.
Yeah.
That was back in 2019. And just a little about me personally, I am someone that always knew that I wanted to be self-employed. I just wasn't quite sure what that was going to be.
Yeah.
And so I'd always watched all the HGTV shows and whatnot, and my mom loves those shows too. And I thought, oh, that looks easy. Like I could totally flip a house. I'm handy. My parents are handy, whatever. And it took a couple of years, but I finally convinced my parents to buy a $30,000 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom house in a very small town in Iowa and flip that with me. And we each made about $30,000 off of that flip.
Wow.
And during the flipping process, because we were DIYing everything and I was still working a full-time job, we were working weekends and nights, I realized that flipping was not for me. Flipping was not going to be how I got rich. It was much too time consuming. And so I somehow stumbled across BiggerPockets during that time and realized that I wanted to own rental properties.
Yeah.
And so with my $30,000 profit, I purchased a triplex, and then it kind of just snowballed from there. But that is how I initially got started.
What was it about BiggerPockets? Like, I remember for me, like I had been investing my whole life, but when I found BiggerPockets, like this is like at least 10 years ago, I was just like, I can't even believe this exists. Like, how did I not know about this? Did you have that same feeling when you came upon it and was like, whoa, what a gold mine?
Yes, I was literally just going to say it's such a wealth of information. Like there's just so many resources there. And I guess if you don't know about real estate investing, like you would never know that it exists. But once you find it, you're like, oh my God, there's so many people sharing their stories on there that are just like you. And it starts to put into perspective how realistic it is to be a real estate investor.
Yeah. So how did you start there? Did you just start in the forums, kind of lurking around like,
Yes.
Iowa and what's going on in the area?
I was literally just going to say, I just used to do like Google searches, and the forums would pop up. Like I would ask Google specific questions like, how do you buy a triplex or something like that? And like, of course, BiggerPockets would pop up.
Yeah.
And then I literally was just a lurker for like probably a year.
Yeah.
And just absorbing as much information as I could.
Yeah, I think that's a good strategy though for like our newest listeners who are just like haven't even touched the water. Lurking around the forums is a great way. You can read everybody's answers. You can start to decide like who's giving relevant answers, who's adding value to the conversation and who's not. And then eventually, was it just that you had enough confidence to post or reach out to someone because you felt like you had enough information in there?
Absolutely. Yeah. This is like my exact story. It was like, and of course I wanted to format my post or my questions so perfectly because I was like, I don't want anyone to think I'm an idiot.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? So it was like, oh, and another thing that used to bother me about when people would post and I would read on BiggerPockets was they would always give like half of the story and then ask for advice. And it's like, I don't have enough information to give you good advice.
Yeah.
So when I did my first post, like I posted all of the numbers, like all the background or whatever, so that I could get like solid answers from that.
Yeah. how many units or doors did you have that were at least making money when you quit your job?
Yeah. So bought my first property in November 2020, quit my full-time job in June of 2021. The thing was, I think I had 15 doors at that time, and I had 11 more under contract when I quit.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
yeah, an 11 unit apartment building. And I was only making around $50,000 at the time. So for me, I didn't have those golden handcuffs.
Yeah.
Like I wasn't quite making as much as my full-time job, but I knew that I could get scrappy, and worst case scenario, if I needed to pick up like a bartending job or something like that to make ends meet, it was worth it for me to like give this thing a shot.
Yeah, and also with 11 more, which puts you at 26, you probably knew like I'm going to need to be like hands on, or else I'm going to be losing instead of winning.
Yes, exactly. It was like yeah, yes, I wasn't going to be able to devote enough time to real estate investing to make it as successful as I had. So something had to give, and it was my W-2 job, which I was very happy to let go.
Well, let's talk money a little bit. What sources were you using for these transactions as you went? Because I think that's what everybody always worries in the beginning. Like, what am I going to do money wise? You obviously used the 30,000 as part of the first investment, but then what type of vehicles were you using to go from more properties and get more doors?
Yes. So that's really important. And I like to be very transparent about that. So the first triplex I purchased was $78,000 in small town Iowa. So that's a part of my story as well. The prices here are so much cheaper than a lot
Yeah.
of other places. And so I used the money from the flip for that, but it was a value add opportunity. So I actually did a BRRRR on that property and was able to pull out almost all of my funds and recycle those. And I bought a quadplex like 2 months later from the same seller that I bought the triplex from, and used the same funds that I purchased the triplex with for the quadplex, which
Wow.
was awesome. Like it was an inadvertent BRRRR. I didn't realize I was going to do a BRRRR. I'd heard of the concept through Bigger Pockets,
Yeah.
but never thought I was going to do that on my very first deal. So then I was tapped out. I'd used all my money. And one other thing I should add here is I was originally like, I also kind of got into real estate because I was really into the personal finance area.
Yeah.
I had paid off all of my student loans. I'd paid off my car loan. Like that's how it started. And then I was like, how can I make more money? And Bigger Pockets and real estate came along.
Yeah.
But so I was debt free too. So that's a huge part of this situation. And
Yeah.
I was young, 27, 28. I was used to living like a broke college student. So
Yeah.
my expenses were very low. So that all plays into it as well.